What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Football Show. We are a proud member of Empire Media and the Empire Media Podcast Network. Steve Mendy here, joined by someone who you should fade in your drafts as much as he gets fades. That's the doc, Eric Mendelson. What's going on?
You know, I can't help that I've been right with so many of my takes recently. It's really hard being this smart sometimes.
Oh, man, you just want to pat yourself on the back as much as you can, can't you?
Yo, Eric.
Oh, I mean, that's just refuting what... What?
Do you go to a black barber?
No. Why?
Okay, all right. I don't know. I always attribute fades to black barbers.
No,
I mean, I'll go to whoever can cut them well.
That's fair.
Right
That's
on.
fair. Of course, the other lovely voice you heard is the guy who waits on quarterbacks in Superflex. It is the Bradsterdamus, Brad Kilmer. What's going on?
Can't complain, man. I'm still riding off the high of the Clinton Portis interview we had today, man.
Ooh, yeah, and that was a blast, man. Dude was telling stories like not many guests that we've had, man. There's a lot of good information. Make sure you check that out. Brad always has like the fire questions in there, like always ones that I'm like, oh man, like is he gonna go there? And then they answer, and like that's that's what Brad brings, man. That's why he's the Bradsterdamus. He's the wild card, but we love it here. We love it.
Appreciate it, man.
And of course, we also got our guest this week because we had to upgrade from Johnny Foosball. And this guest, we welcome in a man who only answers to the phrase "Who Day," an NFL correspondent for Fantasy Pros, a writer for Dynasty Nerds, and part of IDP Guys and the FF Face-Off. This man could be called the second-year running back dude with his love for Jonathan Taylor and CEH. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the real CC. Conbon, what's going on, my friend?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of the show. Ready to talk some football.
Hey, man,
Wait,
real pumped to
you
have
like
you.
JT and CEH? You can't take both sides. You have to take one.
Oh,
Bro, you're breaking the rules.
Making him choose between two kids.
Exactly.
I mean, everybody knows I'm a big CH guy, but it's JT all day for me.
Wow. Dave's about to kick you off the pod, man.
Yeah, I mean, both great backs. I'm happy to meet another fellow CEH lover as much of myself. We're two of the very few people in the FF.
I'm in here. I'm in here.
Do you have him in the top 10?
I haven't done my rankings yet.
Okay, well,
The answer is
not
no.
many have him in the top 10, like my guy right here. So I love that. Tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us about your FF journey. You're verified now, so you're big time. You're doing awesome big things with some great groups with Fantasy Pros and Dynasty there. So tell us a little about your background.
Yeah, I've been playing fantasy sports for a while now, since middle school, and I just started wanting to get into articles and stuff like that. So I think it was around this time last summer where I got a chance with Rider Dynasty, that crew over there, and I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to, put some articles out there, and then I wanted to start getting into Dynasty as well. I just started getting into Dynasty last year as well and want to start to write content for them. And now I'm with Dynasty Nerds, running some things for Fantasy Pros and FS Face-Off and IDP Guys. So, yeah, I'm very blessed.
Yeah, a little bit everywhere, man. And again, providing some awesome takes on Twitter. Always catch the great stuff that you're putting out there. And we're real pumped to have you for the show tonight because we have our NFC North preview. The Triple Play Fantasy Division previews are coming to a close, finishing out tonight with that NFC North, a very hard-hitting division. We've got, of course, the rising and falling stars, rookie impacts, players to keep a sharp eye on at the end of your drafts, and much more. Make sure you stay tuned for that awesome discussion. Of course, we'll go to our question of the week. Who is the dirtiest player in the NFL or NFL history? And as always, we have our game of the week revealed at the end of the show. So if you guys are ready to get another episode started, then man, we're here to do it for you. Let's do it! Yeah! We got a lot of news and notes we got to get to before we get to this division preview here. And some of the stuff came out today. We've got to start off with the sad news in the room. Running back Cam Akers for the Rams suffered a torn Achilles. The injury is going to keep him out the entire 2021 season. Akers was the Rams' leading rusher last year, having over 600 yards and 2 scores on 145 carries, 11 catches for 123 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, Darrell Henderson's expected to take the number 1 running back job for the Rams with the support of Xavier Jones, Raymond Calais, day 3 pick Jake Funk, and UDFA Otis Anderson also in the mix. Now, Sean McVay came out today and said they're looking at their in-house options and not looking to explore the free agent running back market. So that's very interesting. So, Connor, I want to go to you first. Darrell Henderson, where are you comfortable taking him in your drafts, assuming it's just like a standard PPR draft? Where you think you're going to take him?
I'll look anywhere between rounds 4 through 6, I believe. I think his ADP will start creeping up to the 3rd round, though. But yeah, he should definitely get the first crack at things. I just wonder how many passes he's going to catch out of the backfield. His upside may be a little bit capped if he's not involved there. But yeah, I mean, he's still going to get most of the touches. So anywhere from rounds 4 to 6, I'd be comfortable.
Brad, what do you think? If you are starting a draft right now, and is he a guy that you're looking at if you go 0 running back, you're trying to take maybe in like the 4th round? I'm thinking there probably going to be obviously some drafters that may reach for him in the 3rd, thinking he gets the usage that we thought Cam Akers was going to get. What do you think?
Yeah, so I had Cam Akers at RB16, and for me, I kind of pretty much put Darrell Henderson right in that spot now that he's going to be the Rams RB1. So I'm not completely convinced that he's just going to be some workhorse that gets all the love. I know McVay is saying right now that he's going to take, all his in-house options looks first, but even when they were running Cam Akers, like they were still giving, Malcolm Brown love last year. Like this is going to be running back by committee for the most part, and I think Henderson will get a majority of the shares, but it would shock me if, Jake Funk was getting carries or, especially when you have backs like Todd Gurley out there. You've got, a lot of free agent backs that have just been waiting for somebody to get injured to get their shot to get a good look at an RB1 spot. So to me, I think it makes sense for them to look on the free agent market, especially, before preseason. This is, if you were going to get hurt, this is probably when, the Rams would prefer somebody to get hurt. So I like Henderson at that RB16 area, but I wouldn't be shocked if they looked outside.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's so early on. I saw people tweeting out like, look, right now he's going to be valued some way, but if they go into, the end of training camp and they haven't changed anything, Darrell Henderson's going to get bumped up more. Right now, I think people are definitely.
He has an unspecified injury to begin camp too. Like,
does he?
Yeah. Yeah, he does. He's not like at full health right now. And the fact that we don't know what the injury is, like it's recency bias, literally what happened today that's making his ADP go up. But he could have something that's nagging that we don't know about.
Right.
Dave, you mentioned that like I wait to take quarterbacks even in a super flex. Like this is the exact reason why. Like running backs are a scarce position already, and they're also probably the most likely to get hurt. So I love to load up on running backs early because when your starter inevitably goes down, you're going to need somebody to take his place, and it's harder to get one on the waiver wire or through the trade market when they're already so scarce. So, we were expecting a running back to go down. He's the first, but he won't be the last, and this is part of the game.
That's fair. Doc, I want to go to you to lead off this next part here, and that's talking about Aaron Rodgers, who right now, as he starts smiling there with that grin that he's got going, he was offered a 2-year extension that would have tied him to Green Bay for 5 more seasons, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. The deal would have made him the highest paid player in the league, but Rodgers declined. Of course, there's a million ways to measure contracts in the NFL, guarantees, cash flow, all those types of things. But for now, Rodgers is still signed through 2023. The Packers could theoretically cut him next season and save $22.7 million against the cap, but they'd be left with $17.2 million in dead money, but they actually wouldn't cripple them too much cap-wise. So, Doc, I know you were engaged with people on Twitter, and you had said, I don't think he's in it for the money. And people said, why would he turn down that much money? I know you were taking your victory laps earlier today. Now that you're done and you're tired, do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yeah, I just think it's funny. People know Aaron Rodgers and they don't read the context or the tea leaves. He's been saying this entire time he wasn't going to come back. The Green Bay organization has disrespected him so much that making a last attempt to make him the highest paid quarterback doesn't absolve taking Jordan Love without telling him. It doesn't absolve going or kicking for it on 4th down instead of going for it when he's the league MVP. It doesn't absolve not taking a skill position besides Jordan Love in the first round his entire tenure there. People don't realize this is a cumulative thing. Aaron Rodgers has a bigger ego than probably most people. So the fact that everybody was thinking emotionally or what they wanted to do, I've been staying away from him. I've been really high on Jordan Love compared to his ADP, and I'll talk more about that with when we go into our team previews. But don't expect Rodgers to play. I don't think the Packers cut him. I think the most logical thing is they get a very good trade offer and they ship him out, or he retires. I think those are the only two scenarios.
Yeah, and Brad, I'll plug what you said real quick in the Clinton Portis interview. You actually brought that up about the player empowerment and having, if you mean that much to a franchise, should you have a say in personnel decisions? And, Clinton Portis brought up that he was kind of he was kind of behind bringing Santana Moss to Washington, and they listened to what he said and executing that trade. So to not draft certain players because Rodgers would want them. You hear Patrick Mahomes texting Brett Veach that he wants Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and that's who they're going to go get. So I think it means a lot that you have your franchise guy, even if he's not required to have say in personnel moves, that you at least ask them just to hear what their thoughts are. I think that goes a long way. What are your thoughts about this? Because obviously Aaron Rodgers could, like Doc said, could retire. He could go to another team. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, it's tough to say, honestly. We kind of knew it wasn't about money. It was all about him not being involved in their decision-making, them making poor draft decisions and stuff like that. So, honestly, yeah, I think it's tough. I think, there is a chance that he retires, but I think there's also a pretty good chance that he gets traded before the season.
I think the Packers might have made it worse by offering this max deal because it kind of twists the knife in the wound, right? Like, so many players measure their respect in terms of their dollars, but Aaron Rodgers has said time and time again, like, just give me a say. Like, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, like, all these people are having a say in their team's development and who their team's personnel is. And quite frankly, the players feel like they know more than the GMs, and I understand that, and it makes sense. So to offer him, the max money as if like that was going to fix it is just showing time and time again that you don't respect him. You're not listening to him. So if the Packers are smart, you wouldn't let him walk away for nothing. So I think it makes a lot of sense to just trade your MVP while his value's high.
Agreed.
It's a Carson Palmer situation all over again. Obviously a much better player, but I think they're firm. He'll probably retire, and then if they say they'll trade him, he'll come back. Like, I could see easily that taking place. So we'll have to watch how that plays out. Kind of want to go to you again, talk about the Patriots running back room. It's very crowded, but ESPN's Mike Rice reported that Damian Harris is the surefire number one running back in that backfield. We don't know if we can really trust Bill Belichick, what he says. We don't know if we can trust any Patriots running back for as long as I can remember, maybe since Lawrence Maroney. Throw that name out there. What are your thoughts? Is this something you can actually believe? Are you drafting Damian Harris thinking he's going to be a bell cow back?
No, I don't think he's going to be a bell cow back, but I do think he's going to get majority of the early work. But it's just James White's still there, and then Cam Newton's going to take those short yardage TDs away from him. So it's hard to see the upside with Damian Harris, but I do think he's going to get majority of the early down work. I'm not really concerned about Sony Michel. I think he might get traded, honestly.
Probably get cut.
Yeah, cut or traded, one of those two. I just don't think he's going to be a major threat. He just didn't pan out like they wanted to. So, yeah. He's a good RB3. So.
Yeah, I think it's a good call. I actually had Sony Michel over Nick Chubb when they got drafted, which does not look very good right now. You said you did too, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he looked like a whole different player and fizzled out very quickly, obviously, with his bad knee. Matt Nagy, talking about running backs still, said he wants 20 rushing attempts per game for David Montgomery. Now, this is coach speak, right? I mean, we don't know if we can trust this for sure, but Brad, do you want more David Montgomery after hearing this?
I mean, you know how I feel about David Montgomery. It was even before, I heard this. I had David Montgomery as my RB6 this year. So we're talking about a guy he probably had the best finish to the season out of all the running backs in the entire league last year. And he finished RB6 after that slow start. The same reason I have Saquon Barkley ranked RB20 is because I'm scared of that ACL. I'm scared he's going to get worked in very slowly. And he's probably, I don't know, he might not even start week 1. So if that's the case for Saquon Barkley, why wouldn't I feel that same way about Tariq Cohen, who's coming off a similar ACL injury and is used primarily as a wide receiver these days? So I have no reason to think that he's not going to be the bell cow back that, when they drafted him, they thought he was going to be. And the way he finished last year, he's sky high for me. Like I took him in the first round this year in the Scott Fish Bowl. Like he's an incredible talent, and I'm big on him.
Yeah, and Stefania Bell brought up, I guess it can apply to Tariq Cohen too. When you're seeing all these photos of Saquon Barkley, she brought up, you said you're always seeing it from the left side. She said if they were doing it from the right side, you would see that the difference in his leg size is very different, and then they're not showing that. And that could be something and mean something as far as his recovery. Yeah, she brought that up when we were on the Fantasy Foodies last week. She's very hesitant. Again, this is just Stefania Bell's opinion. She's not obviously the end all be all. I do trust her more than I would trust probably most anybody else. But she said in her gut that he's brought along slowly, like you said, Brad, and that he comes on and is himself week 4, week 5. But then at that point, is it worth a first round pick? So that's definitely that's kind of confirmation from her that Saquon might be a little more slower than people realize. But real quick, finishing out the news and notes here, Tom Brady apparently had a torn MCL, but still won a Super Bowl. It's just Tom Brady doing Tom Brady things. And, of course, Ted Ginn, the legend Ted Ginn, announced his retirement from football. He actually was the number 9 overall pick, for those that don't remember, in 2007. 14 years in the league with 6 different teams. Either of you guys have any fond Ted Ginn memories?
Yes, he scored 2 kickoff return touchdowns in a 2-minute span for the 49ers week 1 in 2011.
That's a pretty good one. Did you guys win the game?
We did.
Okay, so there you go.
I think he might have been against the Seahawks too, which was amazing.
There you go. I love it. Well, if you enjoy all this conversation, make sure you never miss a show by clicking that subscribe button wherever you find your podcast. If you want to hear more Triple Play, great news for you. We have a fantasy baseball and basketball show you can check out, available anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you enjoy the content, make sure you hook the boys up with a 5-star rating and review wherever you can review podcasts. Of course, you can check us out on social media at Trip Play Fantasy, the website tripplayfantasy.com. Of course, the YouTube channel we've been pushing a lot lately. Everywhere you'll see, of course, articles, videos, podcasts, mini YouTube series that we have that don't make Twitter, or the podcast that we make on the YouTube channel. Breakdowns, Coach's Corners, of course, the interview with Clinton Portis, if you missed it, is now on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. But remember, if you are looking for a good fantasy podcast and tired of bringing up meaningless quarterback debates in your therapy sessions, look no further than this podcast right here, because I'm telling you, we might just change your life. And if you're watching the live version, of course, we're sticking around. If you're on the podcast, we got to pay the bills, and we're going to jump into the NFC North preview right after this quick break. All right. So, NFC North division preview. We got a lot to cover. I'm not going to make the same joke I made last week, but let's dive in. Let's talk about the NFC North. Let's talk about quarterbacks. So Kirk Cousins, QB 11 at just under 20 points per game last year. He's never flashy, never sexy. People argue that he's the only reason he's a borderline QB1, because he basically usually will play most of the season and doesn't get hurt, while other quarterbacks will miss a couple games. Right now, he's QB 18 off the board. I think that's about right for Captain Kirk. I don't think he's going to be much better than, at best, maybe like a low-end QB1, high-end QB2. I might take him like a couple spots higher than that. Connor, what are your thoughts on Kirk Cousins? Because again, I think he's kind of a meh, great QB2 in a QB Superflex league, but you're not touching him in any one QB leagues. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable with him as my QB1 in a one QB league, but yeah, he's going to be a low end QB2, high end QB2 in some weeks, some matchups. But I mean, he had a pretty good stretch last year where he threw quite a few, quite a few 3 TD games, I believe. Can't remember. I think it might have been towards the end of the season, but no, he's not anything to get really excited about.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, again, if you're in a 2 QB league, he's fine as your second quarterback. Not trying to draft him mostly in 1 QB leagues. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. QB3, just over 24 points per game last year, MVP of the league. Again, we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is playing, but if he does play, keep in mind his touchdown rate last year was over 9%. And if you dial that number back to his career mark of just over 6%, which is obviously still elite, he would have been QB 10 last year instead of the QB 3 that he finished with. Doesn't really have as much mobility. They were obviously throwing a lot at the goal line to Devontae Adams, and you might expect that they'd be a little bit more run heavy next year if he's in Green Bay or somewhere else. You also have Jordan Love, who's never thrown an NFL pass, and Doc apparently sucks, right? Because you made the note to mention that apparently people already said he's bad without actually seeing him play a game yet. So what are your thoughts on this Packer quarterback situation?
So I talked about it. I don't think Aaron Rodgers plays with the Packers. So I think you have to downgrade everyone on the offense. I don't get where this narrative that Jordan Love sucks. Like, he hasn't played a game. And I'm going to use the beginning of Patrick Mahomes' career as a comparison. In 2017, he played Week 17 against the Chargers. He went 22 for 35 with 0 touchdowns and interception and sacked 2 times. Then to begin 2008 training camp, he had 7 interceptions and 6 practices. He called the wrong play in the huddle, and they talked about concerns because Alex Smith had only 5 interceptions and 505 pass attempts. Patrick Mahomes is now arguably the best quarterback in the NFL.
Say that again.
I said arguably. So if we judge based on one game that we saw him in training camp, that's a similar narrative of what Jordan Love is going through. Now, is Jordan Love going to be Patrick Mahomes? No way. But the Green Bay will probably tailor the offense to his strengths if he does start. Maybe short passes, maybe more designed bootlegs because he has more mobility. I just don't like the narrative of saying a 22-year-old sucks when he's never played a snap in the NFL. And he's probably going to be starting because a team traded up in the first round to get him.
Yeah, welcome to NFL fantasy Twitter, Eric. The narrative's already made before they play a game.
It's just crazy how lazy people are with some takes like that. Like, they say, oh, he sucks. But what can you actually prove to why he does? His college stats, what you're reading, like, it annoys me so much.
I can tell. Well, I'll let you cool off, and we're going to go to my man Brad, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Chicago Bears QB situation. You got Andy Dalton, you got Justin Fields. Andy Dalton was QB 31 last year, just over 13 points a game. GM Ryan Pace has said he is the team starting quarterback. Meanwhile, you got the electric rookie Justin Fields waiting in the wings. Does Justin Fields have QB1 upside in 2021 for you, Brad? If he plays, let's say he plays 12 games, does he have QB1 upside for you? I think he's thinking about it. We'll let Brad iron out his technical issues, and we'll come back to the Bears. Connor, I want to talk to you about the Lions first. Let's talk about Jared Goff. QB 18, just under 17 points per game. Goff has only thrown for 22 and 20 touchdowns.
No, I don't think so.
That was hilarious. 22 and 20 touchdowns each of the last 2 seasons. This was with Sean McVay calling the plays, who's known to want to throw the ball. He had a receiving core of Kupp and Woods, which doesn't exactly bode well for his chances in the Detroit offense. Right now, he's going as QB 31, which is basically saying he's not even worth drafting in 2 quarterback leagues. Do you think the disrespect is that much?
I mean, I kind of agree with it, honestly. I mean, he's very unexciting. If he didn't produce with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp as his main weapons, and Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett, Cam Akers in the backfield, then what makes you think he's going to succeed with Quintez Cephas, Rashad Perriman, and Tyrell Williams? But I mean, they got Swift and Hawkins there, but still, I mean, he's very unexciting. So no, I am not very thrilled about Jared Goff.
Yeah, obviously, pretty much. Again, obviously, only way you're even thinking about him is super flex, and right now that's even borderline. So, Jared Goff, not very exciting. Bringing up the Bears, I know Brad's not here. How do you guys feel? I mean, Justin Fields isn't going to start week 1 because they're going against the Rams and Aaron Donald on prime time. So I think that's very safe to say that they want Andy Dalton to start that game so Justin Fields doesn't get flustered. Do you guys think there's any chance he starts week 2, by week 3, week 4? And is there any QB1 upside for him this year as being a top 12 quarterback? Doc, what do you think?
I don't know about QB1.
Like a QB1, not like a top 12 quarterback.
I could see more in the 14 to 15 range, like a high-end QB2 or somebody that you stream based on the matchups. Like I could see him having the Jalen Hurts type effect where he could have like a really good game, like a 32-point game, but most of his will be in that like 16 to 18 range, but he'll show that upside.
I mean, he has a great rushing floor, so that's why if he plays 12 games with the rushing floor that he has, there's that potential, I think, for him to be there. It's going to just come down to the amount of games he plays. Connor, do you think if he plays 12 or more games, he's a QB1?
Yeah, I think he's on the cusp. I think no worse than top 15. Yeah, like you said, he brings that rushing floor, so that's going to make him automatically a top 15 play each and every week. And he has Robinson to throw to, Darnell Mooney, then in the backfield as well. So, yeah, I mean, as soon as he starts, if I get 12 starts out of Justin Fields, yeah, he's definitely on the cusp of being a QB1.
Brad, did you want to jump in with your thoughts on Justin Fields?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I was just saying that, I don't really think he has QB1 upside this season. I like him a lot in the Dynasty League, but in a redraft season, I see him a lot as, comparable to a Tua Fitzpatrick situation from last year. I think the Bears are good enough to contend, so they're probably going to go with the hot hand or whoever's playing the best. And that's probably going to be Dalton some days, and it's probably going to be Fields some other days. So we've seen a lot with Ohio State quarterbacks that, you never have to throw a guy open, right? They're always open because they're just so much better than everybody else. So that's kind of stunted a lot of development for Ohio State quarterbacks, but he's got all the tools, and I expect him to be very good. But there's always going to be a rookie curve to get over.
Brad, if you're in a Dynasty startup, do you take Trey Lance or Justin Fields?
Trey Lance.
Connor?
Yeah, Lance for me.
Doc, I already know because you're a homer. You'll take Trey Lance. So
I mean, he has better weapons and a more creative offensive coordinator, so why it's not even a homer thing.
But Trevor Lawrence might be the best quarterback of the bunch, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they say he's the best quarterback since Andrew Luck, which is saying something. So,
and I took Zach Wilson as my QB1 in my Scott Fishbowl league just because, I waited till the 5th or 6th round to take a quarterback, and he was the best one left. But I honestly think a lot of people are sleeping on Wilson because he's going to have so much usage. They're going to be down a lot. He's going to have a lot of chance to sling it. So I like Wilson as well.
Brad, did you see the Scott Fishbowl projections?
I did. I was so far down.
You were I think 10 from the bottom.
It's absurd. It's absurd. But I'll prove them wrong, man. I'm going to be 10th from the top when it's all finished.
I love it. I was looking for all the triple play guys' names. I think Eric, me and you are 12 spots apart. I think I'm we're in the 700s or something.
That's fine.
Connor, what about you? Do you know where you were ranked?
No, I saw the list, but I just didn't get a chance to look at it. What all factors into the rankings for that?
They basically use the players' scoring from last year with this year's Scott Fishbowl scoring.
Okay.
And it's some kind of formula that the person did.
It's just projections. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Right.
So let's talk about running backs. A little more exciting now. And let's start off with the Lions. Let's talk about DeAndre Swift, who's handcuffed with Jamal Williams. DeAndre Swift with RB18, around 14.5 points per game. And it wasn't a bad rookie season by any means for Swift. Obviously, the 18th ranked running back in PPR. Strong work as a receiver. an impressive 1.58 yards per route run. He's got Anthony Lynn, who likes throwing to his running backs, but he's also made comments about Jamal Williams essentially being the primary back on passing downs, which could hurt DeAndre Swift. There's a lot of vacated targets in Detroit, and pretty much besides TJ Hawkinson, I think it's just up in the air who's going to be kind of the options after him to get the ball to. Right now, DeAndre Swift's going as RB16. So, Connor, what do we think about Mr. Swift? There's a lot of Swift truthers out there that have him closer to the top 10. What do you think?
Yeah, I have him exactly RB16. I wish I could rank him higher, but that offense just scares me. Jared Goff scares me. And I'm just worried about his touchdown upside, honestly. I do think he's going to catch a lot of passes. He's probably one of the best, if not the best, pass catcher out of his class. So they have to get him involved. And who else are they going to throw to? Hawkinson's going to get his targets, but in the wide receiver core, I'm not worried about anybody stealing targets away from Swift. But, yeah, he's a solid RB2, but, I just wish he wasn't on the Lions, man.
I agree. Again, he's kind of, his value's kind of slipped recently. I've seen him a lot more times going somewhere in the middle to the end of the third round, which I think is great value for him. Taking him in the second, I think, is a little too rich, but he should be a solid RB2 for you. Obviously, if you go RB heavy and you're able to get him as your RB3, your flex in the third round, that's also a great deal there too.
Am I crazy for saying I don't think I would take him in the first 4 rounds, maybe even 5 rounds?
That's definitely a hot take.
I'm with you.
Oh, we got half the crew with that. Okay, that's fair.
Well, I'm just saying, he has concussion history at such a young age, and the fact that Adrian Peterson was he doesn't look like the same guy. If he gets a concussion this year, I bet you he sits at least 2 to 3 games. And if he's the workhorse back, more touches equals a better chance that you get that. I just look at the history of Lions running backs and just doesn't bode well for him. Whatever reason, Lions running backs just seem to have shorter careers and not perform to their expectations.
Yeah.
On top of that, I have him as my RB21, but the Lions just always use a running back by committee. It doesn't matter, who's RB1 going into the camp. It doesn't matter how well they play. I don't know why, but they brought Todd Gurley in to try to sign him. So that's an indicator to me that they're looking to add depth, and if they want depth, it's because they're not completely sold that Swift is going to be their RB1 and be a workhorse back. So, and that's on top of the fact that their game script's going to be bad, right? Swift might not be playing in the fourth quarter for real. Like Connor mentioned, you don't love taking a Detroit running back because they're not going to be a good team. So. Honestly, I'm kind of scared of Swift.
Yeah, I have him as RB, I believe RB14. You say, Connor, you got
$16.
16. Yeah, so I think obviously Eric and Brad, you guys are even lower than us, but I'm actually, to be honest with you, I might make some changes to my rankings. I have Mixon and Gibson as 15 and 16, and I might bump them up and put Swift down to 16. Because you guys are right. It is true that the Lions are going to have a lot of negative game scripts and his injury history. And yeah, there's a lot of Swift truthers out there, but he has started slipping in recent weeks. So I'll probably make that adjustment. Let's talk about the Packers running backs. Let's talk about Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones was RB5, but RB4 in points per game last year. And as far as anybody that's played more than 3 games, Aaron Jones keeps producing. He's been a top 5 running back back-to-back years. He's right now going as RB9. So Doc, got to ask you, is A.J. Dillon a threat to steal more goal line work and bring him down to closer to the bottom of the top 10? Or should we expect that he's going to be another top 5 running back?
Well, I'm bumping everyone on the Packers down because I don't think Aaron Rodgers plays for them. So pass catchers, running backs, that whole offense takes a step back. 150 touches are going to be up for grabs since Jamal Williams is gone. And I think A.J. Dillon is going to get a lot of the rushing work. He only had 2 targets in 11 games last year, but had 46 carries for 242 yards at a 5.3 yards per carry. So I think if you want to utilize his strength, you're going to have him as more of a rusher and probably have Aaron Jones catch more balls. He caught 47 last year, had 201 rushing attempts. This is the first year of his 4-year, $48 million contract extension. which is essentially a 2-year deal that's very front loaded. So I think that they probably use Aaron Jones a lot in the receiving game, but I think it's probably a 70-30 rushing split. Jones getting the 70, Dillon getting the 30. And I could actually see Dillon getting some goal line work because that's what the Packers do. They don't give Aaron Jones the goal line work.
Who do you guys think is bigger, Derrick Henry or A.J. Dillon?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is 6'3", 238 pounds. And A.J. Dillon is 6 foot, 247 pounds. So A.J. Dillon is 9 pounds heavier, 3 inches shorter. I mean, I guess I don't know who that means. Who's bigger? Who weighs more or who's taller?
Either way, I don't trust it. I just think Henry's bigger.
Yeah,
that's fair.
They probably got his weight during bulking season.
A.J. Dillon's a load. A.J. Dillon's a freaking load. He's definitely, I think, one of the most under the radar handcuffs that doesn't get talked about enough. Like if Aaron Jones went down, A.J. Dillon would be a league winner because that he'd be getting a lot of rushing work. And I mean, even if he lost some receiving work, he'd be a great guy to have. I'm right there with Toby, our guy Toby. Does any of you guys have Aaron Jones above Eckler, even if Aaron Rodgers plays?
No.
No, I have Eckler ranked above.
We're very much a loyal Austin Eckler podcast. So I agree 100% with you, Toby. Let's talk about Dalvin Cook. Don't really need to talk about him too much. I think he's RB2 last year in both points and points per game. He's going as RB2 right now. Do any of you guys think that he shouldn't be the consensus RB2 without me reading off all his incredibly good stats? Big play waiting to happen. Ripped off a 70-yard run in each of the last 3 seasons. Obviously, health is always a factor. He hasn't played 16 games in a season before. Is there any reason he shouldn't be the RB2?
Yeah, because of the health. Like, he's going to miss games. I don't like banking on 70-yard touchdowns year in, year out. Running back shelf life is pretty short from what we've seen. I'm just always lower on Dalvin than everyone else. But
so if you have the second pick in a draft, who are you taking?
Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. Connor, if you have the second pick in the draft, are you taking Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, I mean, he does come with some injury risk, but when he's on the field, I mean, he's just an absolute monster. They feed him the ball, and he's a good pass catcher too. So, I mean, if you go in knowing that he's going to miss 1 or 2 games, just handcuff him with Madison, and he'll be good.
Brad, you have the number 2 pick in the draft. Is it Dalvin Cook, slam dunk, or are you like Doc and you going somebody else?
Yeah, I got Derrick Henry as my RB2.
Derrick Henry's your RB2. So then both, I guess, Brad, let me stay with you first then. How far down would Dalvin Cook have to fall for you to draft him?
It's a good question. So I have him as my RB3. So I mean, probably the 3rd pick.
Okay, so you go down to 3. We got Toby's brother Kobe in here saying that he has him as RB1. Doc, if Dalvin Cook's there at 3, are you drafting him?
No, I probably wouldn't take him in the top 5.
Give me just on the fly. Give me like your top 6 or 7 guys.
All right, I would take Christian McCaffrey before him. I would take Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
I would take Derrick Henry.
Okay.
I would take Alvin Kamara.
Okay.
I would take Tyreek Hill.
At 5?
Oh, wow.
I made a case last year Tyreek Hill could be the number 1 pick.
Okay. You're taking him at 6? Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley.
I wouldn't take Saquon. Zeke and him is a toss-up.
I mean, Todd Gurley's there too. If you want to take Todd Gurley.
Oh, wait, is this 2017?
Yeah, we're going back in time.
I would probably take him at 7 after Zeke at 6.
Okay. You are not getting any Dalvin Cook this year.
Probably not, and that I'm okay with that.
All right.
What's that based off of? You don't like the Vikings this year?
I just think, like David said, you bank on that he's going to get a 70-yard touchdown. You already know that he's going to miss time. He's had a torn ACL in his past. I'm a bigger fan of Alexander Madison than most.
Oh, people have all over Alexander Madison. They say he's one of the worst running handcuffs in the league as far as not like the opportunity, but his actual talent.
I don't know. I'm a Madison fan, but they also have 2 good wide receivers. They invested a lot of money into Kirk Cousins. I I don't like taking someone that early that is going to miss time. Like I want to.
But you take CMC one.
CMC had a wide range of injuries last year, but besides that, he stayed relatively healthy. Like I don't like taking a first round pick where that he's going to miss at least 1 or 2 games, and you have to draft his handcuff at a higher position.
And Connor says, "Goodbye, guys. Dalvin Cook is not in your top 2." Let's talk. Brad, you kind of already touched on David Montgomery. You have him as RB6.
Yeah, we can skip him. He's my guy.
He did finish RB4 last year. I will say, Brad, I am curious, and just really, really quick on this. Obviously, he had the easiest last 6 games of the year. His schedule was insanely easy. Packers twice, Lions, Texans, Vikings, and Jags. He would have been RB20 after he was RB20 after the first 10 weeks of the season. What are you laughing at?
Look at the comment from Dav Scout.
Doc is Ali mad. Doc would look better with women. Like on his back, he does push-ups. That's actually hilarious.
I feel like that video should just be like a GIF of your picture for every pod episode.
Let's do it.
But obviously, David Montgomery's going to have maybe Tariq Cohen's not there the whole year healthy, but he is there. They also have Damian Williams in the fold, who I expect would take some work. But you're firm on the RB6.
Yeah, absolutely. He just has so much opportunity, and Tariq Cohen he's primarily a receiver now. Like the way they use him is as a gadget receiver, and maybe he'll take some carries here and there, but he's coming off an ACL. I'm not worried about who he played against last year because they were the Bears. Like they were equally as inept as whoever they were playing against. So I honestly, David Montgomery is my guy. I feel like he broke out. There's no reason for me to be scared of him dropping, really.
All right, that's fair. Let's finish up and let's talk about our pass catchers. Let's get the worst one out of the way. Let's talk about the Lions again. And right now it's Tyrell Williams, Rashad Perriman, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then, of course, TJ Hawkinson is there, who was the number 5 tight end in points and points per game last year, 101 targets, 5th most at the position, 6 touchdowns on 67 receptions. He's with Goff, expected to be the number 1 with new head coach Dan Campbell. Little competition for targets without Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones there. So, Connor, I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, where is Hawk in your tight end rankings? And number 2, is there any Lions wide receiver worth rostering?
I think I have Hawkinson tied in 4 or 5. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I think he could probably get over 120, 130 this year. But I just still worry about his touchdown upside. Like I said with Swift, I just don't know how many times they're going to be in the red zone. I feel like they're going to kick a lot of field goals, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think he'll be pretty good for PPR.
Okay. And
for the wide receivers, just don't do it.
Don't do that to yourself.
No, but if I had to choose anybody, it'd probably be St. Brown. I think he'd probably be the one that I would take a shot on.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Are you intrigued with him in Dynasty at all?
Yeah, I mean, his draft capital isn't as good as I thought it would be, but I'm not really. Jared Goff isn't the answer at quarterback, so hopefully they address that in the next couple of years. And I'm not really concerned about any of the wide receivers on the roster as well. So yeah, I have some St. Brown on my Dynasty teams.
All right, let's talk about the Vikings. Let's talk about Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Irv Smith Jr., who are probably going to be the only 3 to catch a decent amount of passes next year. Justin Jefferson was the wide receiver 6 and wide receiver 9 in points per wide receiver 6 on the season, wide receiver 9 in points per game, arguably the best rookie season in NFL history. Adam Thielen was wide receiver 10 in points and wide receiver 11 in points per game. So they were both borderline around the top 10 in points per game for wide receivers. Of course, Justin Jefferson, 1,400 yards on 125 targets. But Mike Tagliere notes that he caught over 70% of his targets at almost 16 yards a catch. No other wide receiver in the history of the game has had those numbers. So you obviously have to expect 1,400 yards on 125 or less targets doesn't usually happen. So people are expecting some regression this year. Adam Thielen was very touchdown dependent last year. 14 touchdowns on 74 catches, didn't even get 1,000 yards. So I'm curious, just really quick surveying the room here. Both of these guys, Irv Smith Jr. obviously is going at the end of your drafts, pretty much not costing you much. I think most people aren't riding the Irv Smith train. Doc, I'm sorry. I know that's your guy. But can we expect Justin Jefferson to be a top 10 wide receiver again? And is Adam Thielen going to be in the top 15 again this year? Doc, what do you think?
Justin Jefferson, I think top 12, just because the Vikings have so many mouths to feed. Adam Thielen, very touchdown dependent. I think he's kind of on the decline of his career. He's always benefited from having an elite wide receiver opposite of him, but we'll see. Yeah.
So, Connor, what do you think? Is obviously both of them are going to come at a little bit of an increased cost. Are you taking Justin Jefferson in the first 2 rounds? And is Adam Thielen worth drafting at his spot?
Usually I don't draft wide receivers in the first 2 rounds. I try to go quarterbacks. But if you wanted to go that route, yeah, I have him as a top 12 wide receiver. I do think he's going to regress a little bit this season. But I still would take him in the first 2 rounds. But Adam Thielen, no. Like you brought up, his touchdowns, man, they're going to go down. He was super efficient in the red zone. And I just don't think he can keep up that pace. He's going to put up wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 numbers, but where he's going right now, I probably wouldn't draft him.
That's fair. We got 2 more teams to cover real quick. Doc, hit us with some Packers talk. Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, MVS, Amari Rodgers, the rookie, and Robert Tonyan. Devontae Adams was the number 1 wide receiver by a healthy margin last year, despite only playing in 14 games. And he's performed like a number 1 wide receiver in 22 of the last 41 games, which is over 50% of his games for those that are not good at math, which is obviously historically good, a 3-year sample size at this point. He's never scored fewer than 11.1 PPR points. He scored fewer than that just 4 times over the last 3 years. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem like he's going to be there. So, Doc, how far are you docking? Obviously, most of these other guys, we'll get to Tonyan in a second, but how far are you docking Devontae Adams on your ranks? Are you taking him 3rd round? Is that like the earliest you take him?
I mean, he's still a top 10 wide receiver. He put up numbers with Deshaun Kaiser, the quarterback, and you look at Devontae Adams, he's great at catching screen passes. David, you and I talk about he's one of the best route runners in the NFL. Like, Devontae Adams will get open. He probably just won't have as accurate a quarterback. I mean, he had 149 targets last year in 14 games. The next closest were MVS and Aaron Jones at 63. So he more than doubled the next highest. So the ball is coming to him and you still can't guard him. MVS is hit or miss. Last year he had 7 games with 50 or more yards, but he had 5 games with under 20 yards. And he actually had 3 games where he had a goose egg. Allen Lazard, I think, is an interesting flyer in the playoffs. He had 3 for 62 on 6 targets, 4 for 96 and a touchdown on 8 targets. Robert Tonyan caught 11 touchdowns on 52 targets, which is 21.1% of his catches for those who aren't good at math. I don't think you see that happen again next year, especially with a downplaying quarterback. So I like Lazard as a late round flyer.
All right. Let's finish out with the Bears. Let's talk about Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Anthony Miller, and the combination of Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham. Allen Robinson was wide receiver 9 in points and 13 in points per game. Despite his awful quarterback play, arguably some of the worst quarterback play receivers had to deal with in their career, he's been able to finish a top 12 wide receiver in back-to-back years. You got Andy Dalton, and then you have potentially Justin Fields, so it's going to be an upgrade expected for him. Darnell Mooney looks to be like a nice wide receiver 2 in this offense. Then you got Cole Kmet and Jimmy Graham, which should help the passing game out, but I don't know if you like one over the other, if you think they'll just cancel each other out. So, Connor, I'm curious, Allen Robinson, where do you have him ranked? And do you think one of these tight ends ends up breaking out? There's a whole Cole Kmet fan club out there. Is this the year that he actually is able to be a legit tight end?
For Allen Robinson, I think I have him as a borderline wide receiver 1. I'm just not excited for Andy Dalton. Hopefully he doesn't start that many games. I feel way better with Justin Fields throwing them the ball. But, I mean, he's going to get targets regardless. So, and he's put up good numbers with Blake Bortles and a bunch of other crappy quarterbacks. So I'm not really concerned about him. I just hopefully Fields starts majority of the season. And as for Kmet, I do like Kmet. I think I have him as a top 16, 17 tight end. I'm just kind of concerned about Jimmy Graham stealing those red zone touchdowns like he did last year. That may hurt his upside, but long term, yeah, I'm a big fan of Cole Kmet.
All right, I like it. Cole Kmet. Doc, do you have to respond to our guy Nick here question about Dr. Tayson said on Justin Fields?
No, I didn't.
Well, hopefully he's still there. He'll update what he actually said on his mobility, I guess, to prove you wrong about Justin Fields. So great discussion on the NFC North players. Now, I don't have my soundboard hooked up, so I'll give you my own sound. Let's go to our question of the week. And we, of course, are sponsored by Monkey Knife Fight. We are an official affiliate to Monkey Knife Fight, the fastest growing sports betting site in the United States. Use promo code TRIPLEPLAY and get up to $50 of your deposit match when you become a new user and you use our code. Our question this week, who is the dirtiest player in NFL history? So there's a couple ways you can go. Connor, you're the guest. We'll go with you. Who's the guy you think is the dirtiest player ever?
Yeah, I mean, I might have to go a Bengals player here with Vontaze Burfict. I think he has to be up there when you talk about dirtiest players. I mean, just that hit on Antonio Brown alone puts him up there. But, yeah, him and Sue for sure. I think those are two of the biggest names for dirtiest players.
No, I completely agree with you. I am familiar with this joke, by the way. He did it to me on Twitter the other day.
Oh, man.
Two great choices. Doc, do you have one you'd like to
go so I figured Vontaze Burfict, that's like the easy answer, and that's probably the best one. I'm going with Brandon Merriweather because he would headhunt as a safety. I actually pulled up an article, The Dirtiest Players, on Bleacher Report, and they have him as number 1. So I guess this was from the 2011
opinion.
Season.
Then that's yours.
No. I pulled it up after I said it, and they said through 7 games, serial headhunter Brandon Merriweather has been the dirtiest player. Helmet onto Eddie Lacy, who gave him a concussion. Then in week 7, he gave Alshon Jeffrey a concussion. Then he did a head-to-head thing with Brandon Marshall later that game. So he gave like 3 concussions in the first 7 weeks.
That's pretty bad. He's one of those hard-hitting safeties that took dirty shots. I got to go with, of course, Albert Hainsworth. Not only did he... you knew
this is recency bias?
I mean, that just only solidified it. I mean, people forget that he stomped on a guy when he was down. He did it before Sue did it.
He stomped on his neck, yeah.
Yeah, like he did that before like Twitter was around. Like he would have gotten grilled for it like Sue got grilled for it. But he also is just a POS. Like, you know, obviously people have heard me talk about on Twitter what I my interaction with him. So that needs to be said. I think Albert Hainsworth fits in that category too.
Wait. So does Cortland Finnegan, is he a dirty player or he's just a gnat, like an annoying player?
I don't think he was dirty. I think he just was like he talked a lot of trash.
And he fought a decent amount of players.
But I think because he talks so much trash, like that's not like he's not like causing someone to get hurt or like
that's what I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I mean, Connor, you agree with me, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that. Who did he fight on the Texans? Was it Andre Johnson?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah, he beat the crap out. He ripped off his helmet, got like 3 good punches in, and Finnegan still chirping.
Oh, it's fantastic. I sometimes a couple times a year I'll rewatch that fight. But with that being said, we got to get to our last segment. Again, no soundboard hooked up. It is our game of the week. I got it ready to go. The game of the week, I will give credit because I did not come up with this one. It's by the Sports Prediction and Stuff account on YouTube.
Oh, you have been using them a lot recently.
No, I use a few different ones. I mix between ones I make up and then others that they do all the work and I can just credit them. So the game is guessing the NFL team by emoji quiz. All right. So how this is going to work and how we're going to determine a winner. You get 2 strikes. Okay. I know it's normally 3 strikes and you're out, but you get 2 strikes. So we're going to start with 1 and then the other can chime in what their answer is. Once you get 2 strikes, you're out. Whoever's last standing wins. All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. So our first one we've got.
So we chime in or we take turns?
You're going to take turns.
Okay.
So it goes by order of difficulty. Round 1. Doc, what is this? By the emoji? Which NFL team?
Packers.
The Green Bay Packers is his guess. And it is the Green Bay Packers. Nice job. By the way, For those that are listening to the podcast, you can watch this on our YouTube channel. I know sometimes the games don't always translate to the podcast version. So if you want to listen along and watch on the YouTube channel and interact with the games, if you want to pause and beat Doc to the answer, you can go ahead and do that.
You ain't going to.
All right. Connor, this one's for you. Which one do we got here?
Oh, man. Shoot, that's a tough one. Okay.
This is on rookie, bro. It's gonna get harder from here.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna go.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Giants. I don't know.
Jets.
There's a Jet right there.
Dang.
It's the New York Jets. All right, Connor, you got one strike. Doc, you're up next.
All right,
What do
let's
we
get
got
it
here?
Giddy up.
What do we got?
I have to see it first.
It's you can't see it?
Oh no, I can see it now.
What do you think? We got an injured emoji, we've got a gear, and we've got a trophy.
Wow, this is actually kind of tough.
Dang, this rookie.
All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Cowboys.
1. Cowboys, and it is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Why is it hurt? I guess Steel Factory.
All right,
That wasn't a
Connor,
good
back
one.
to you. Each of you got a strike. What do we got?
Okay.
We've got a snowflake, we've got the Virgo sign, and we've got a wave.
A wave. What's the middle sign?
I think it's the Virgo sign.
Okay.
I don't even know what that is. It's like a V.
I think I know this one.
I might have two teams narrowed down. Denver Broncos, maybe.
Denver Broncos. He's locking in Denver. The answer is the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh,
And Connor did not get on the
wow.
board.
Wow.
Doc, I just want to see if you can get this one just to see. Do you know what this one is? We've got a bowl of something. We've got a star, and we've got a person.
I feel like the Cowboys.
It is the Dallas Cowboys. You got it. Doc, unfortunately, I don't have your one-man cheer queued up, but you are the winner of this week. Connor, man, I wanted to get you on the board, but
Sorry,
and
man.
NFL
I'm not good
OGs.
at those games.
Apparently they don't mix. But with that being said, Connor, man, really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Ton of fun to be able to talk NFC North and do all this fun stuff with you.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. This was a blast. Big fan of the show, so I'm very blessed to be a part of it.
Hey, man, we're really pumped to have you. Definitely need to have you back sometime. Always love having people on that actually watch the show. So that's always one of our first go-tos to having people come on and truly appreciate that. Make sure you're following Connor. And by the way, if they're not, where can they find you? And can they also give them stuff that you're working on that they can check out?
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Conbon NFL, and then you can catch all of my articles on Dynasty Nerds, IDP guys, and FF Faceoff. And I'm also working on a few articles right now with some bounce back players and some sleepers.
All right, I love it. Make sure you give him a follow. Again, one of the best guys in the fantasy community. Next week, we're going to be doing our first live mock draft as we are now done with the division previews after a couple months. And it's going to be a fun show. We're going to do a 10-team, 30-second per pick, 12-round mock draft. It's going to be a ton of fun. But until then, everyone be safe out there. Go draft the best ball. And we're going to make like a bread truck and haul these buns. Catch you guys